pads. We got this Uncle luggage. It's got one of those tabs. It's like a rubbery kind of like die-hard, I don't know, Silpat kind of die-hard rubber. So we cut it off. I find the shape, use a pair of my wife's like toenail scissors or something from her kit. We got some glue from the guy at the front desk, put it on, and he was playing in half an hour because he had a gig.
Oh, wow.
But that kind of quick thinkingness and just like, well, how do we get through it? I mean, maybe people wouldn't be cutting apart their luggage to help the horn player on the resort, but that's the kind of way, musicians have to think sometimes on their feet, like something's not working. You got to get it working for the gig. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, that happens more frequently there as a result. I've seen it happen hundreds of times, even with a lot of high electricity,
Well, yeah. You hit the point. They were making their guitars and their instruments, right? Homemade. It's because they can't afford it. But you know what? They want to have music, and they do it. And I mean, again, I think society is so much different when you go there compared to right here.
Right. I mean, that's what I was saying. The convenience of things sometimes is what promotes that sort of, laziness. And sometimes, like you're saying, like even when I remember so many people always coming by. It wasn't the phone rang. You didn't know who it was. You picked it up. There wasn't hundreds of telemarketers calling your house all the time. There wasn't social media. We had 3 TV stations. We got the ABC Saturday Night Movie. That was a big deal, right? And we all watched it together. That's the other thing, right? Like 8 people in a living room huddled around a television set all watching one show. That was very different as opposed to today where even in a household, everybody's got Wi-Fi or whatever. There's 8 people or 4 people living in a house, but they're all doing different things in separate rooms, but they're not necessarily doing it together. And somehow in that part of that communal part of it, other things ensue. They aren't necessarily related to that. And that's where, again, that other click on of creativity kicks in. As a kid, remembering lyrics, and as a kid I struggled with dyslexia, so like language was a bit of a thing. But my brother, who was like 10 years older than me, would be like, so, what's all the lyrics to All in the Family? And we'd be around the dinner table, and who could remember them, better? What did they say here? G.R. Old LaSalle ran great. They were all other things that were different, like related to it, obviously, but in a different way, getting your mind working in a different way. It wasn't just about the show. It's just like, could you remember the lyrics? And then I'd be like, oh yeah, do you know these lyrics? Almost, testing each other and then pushing each other, right?
I think that's what society has lost. I mean, you hit it on, you have 8 kids or you have 4 kids or you have 3 kids, right? And when they get past a certain age, when they go watch TV, they're watching TV or playing whatever on their computer in their bedroom. When I was a kid, I mean, TV, I was born in 1952. I remember our first TV. It was a little black and white TV. My father got it, put it in the front room. And, like on Saturdays and Friday nights, we had a whole bunch of relatives in our house watching TV. I mean, I look around, there would be like 13, 14 people. We'd be all, eating popcorn, relaxing, talking about the show, and watching some cowboy show.
Yeah, you know what? And I remember that's the same was the experience with the TV in my house. I even remember my parents doing. They were like it was like 10 or 12 other couples. And they would go to this place. My mom would talk about it. I still remember it. And they rent films. You get 3 16mm films.
Uh-huh.
One was like a older feature. One was something like older, like from the 50s. And then you got a cartoon reel. They had the screen, the Bell and Howell camera, and then I remember all these people, like 24 or 30 people in my house eating chips. And watching these films, and I was like, that was a regular thing that they did, but again, it was more communal, right? It was very different.
It was close. The people were close to each other,
Right.
That has so much changed now.
Well, and I think that's with technology as close as we can be. in essence, to like, okay, let's just talk to somebody from Singapore, look at them, talk to them, send them information simultaneously. That's pretty incredible. But at the same time, we're far more disconnected because of that. So to me, I feel like in some ways we're losing something.
Well, we're losing families, and we're losing. How can I say it? I really think the 60s things started changing big time. I don't know. I look at how my kids turned out. I look how I turned out, and then I look like probably how my parents turned out. My dad.
Well, and I think recognition of it too. Like, I mean, the argument is there, Gary, for like, well, technology is always changing. We didn't used to have a telephone, and now we have telephones. We had telephones for years. Da 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 da. We never used to be able to send messages across the telephone. Well, we have telex machines all of a sudden, and then the birth of the internet. And now all of this technology changes. Like, it's always doing that, but I think using it responsibly is more of the key, and by leading by example. Like, I mean, if you're on your phone as a parent all the time, placating your kid with a tablet, not really spending time with them, you're placating your cat with a tablet. Like, I mean, I think that says something right there. The telephone is a device; it's a tool,
right?
But I don't remember people, always having one in their car, continually walking around with one when I was a kid. It was just in your home. And even, an important person had a phone in their car because they were a diplomat or they were somebody that was really important. But that was like Batman stuff, when I was a kid.
Well, I remember the first time I saw somebody with a phone, I was at a swap meet, and it was in probably mid-'70s. And they had this big, suitcase thing they were carrying, and they had the telephone receiver, and that was their telephone with the antenna sticking out of it. And I'm going, oh, wow. Now you walk everywhere, and people are texting and talking on the phone while they're driving when they don't supposed to be. It's scary how everything's going. I think if all the satellites went down even for one day, I think it'd be a massive panic on Earth, because, I mean, what would people do without their phone?
You're 100% right.
Okay, now I want to kind of touch in what we were talking about a little bit earlier about encounters, and some people say that Bigfoot don't exist. And then you have the other ones that say it does exist, fake movies, non-fake movies, fake footprints, fake hair. It's just been so much of it going on for so many years. I know my feeling, because I told you before we went on the air, my encounter with a Bigfoot. And I didn't even want to even say that. I brought it up last week on a radio show with another person, because we talked about Bigfoot for maybe about 2 minutes. But I tell you, if you ever ran into one, you won't be one of these people that'll say they don't exist. I can tell you that much.
Well, that's the thing. The fear aspect of it too, sometimes, or the astonishment, is like, first of all, what hits you the hardest, and then you're a believer. And then the next thing is like, well, how do you try to describe what's happening or has happened, or what you've seen, unless you're with a group of people or other people, or have means in order to be, how do you describe that without them thinking
you're crazy?
Something's not right.
Yeah, like, hey, you came out of a mental institution. I mean,
right.
Or you're just looking for a couple minutes of fame. I have kept it quiet since 2002 when I had my encounter, and I'll tell you, I've had people tonight, because I did a little thing on Facebook before I came on the air. I had a lot of people texting me like, "Do you have pictures? Why didn't you take pictures? You said you had a camera." Well, in my case, it happened so fast, and I honestly, if I should have been wearing a diaper. I was that scared, and all I could think about, and my friend that was with me, all we could think about was getting out of there, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And I'll tell you, if I went back and started telling people about it, even in my profession I was doing at the time, I don't think I would have, made it in the profession.
Well, your experience was in 2002, so it was almost, 20 years ago, let's just say, or almost, But regardless, you still impacted today. It's changed your life enough, and you're still questioning probably what happened, recalling, going back and forth, and trying to. For me, there's a lot of rationalization, in like what's going on here. Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I think that your statement before, when you were like, people were saying, "Well, where's the photo? Why don't you take a photo?" And look, here's a historical photo of the past in terms of Aboriginal people. They're all through the Canadian Rockies, from Alaska all the way down United States. There are places that are named after what they consider to be Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and it's almost like a map, like a migratory map. Those sacred names that are given to those locations are there because of moments that occurred between those cultures and the others, that they call. So I think that's one of those things that is necessary to look into. It's not something that just is a phenomenon of the late 60s because of the PG film. It's something that I think has been happening for a long time. And again, how? Like we were talking before the show, my personal experience, what I was doing didn't promote the idea even when it was going on, that Ed, take a camera. Personally, it's like, okay, so we're on the edge of a large forest. There's a 40-acre, almost 50-acre parcel behind us. We have coyote, deer, all kinds of birds, grouse, quail, porcupine, okay, and my dog, porcupine, issues tons of times. And that's not fun. You know that, Gary.
Yeah,
but
very
other
painful.
Other issues were with coyotes, and they chased him back to the house, and it was going to be like an intense situation. So I'm very wary with Roscoe when I go to the bush, what's going on. I always make sure I may not be able to see him because the bush is pretty thick, but I have a jingle bell on him. I know where he is. I can hear him. And he's usually about 25, maybe 30 yards away from me at most, and if I call him, he comes back. But on this particular day, it's July. It's 6:30 in the evening. It's still light out. I'm going to the garden to pick stuff for dinner. He's with me. All of a sudden, I hear coyotes going crazy. Okay, Roscoe, back to the house. Right? Take him back to the house. Go back to the crest of this hill. Look, and there's no coyotes. They're just yelping. They're in the bush. They won't. They're obviously not coming out of the bush. There's a lot of them. It's almost like you must have been out somewhere and you've heard that, like a pack of them.
Oh yeah.
And they're so distressed because something is going on. Either a bear is in the area or whatever. Right? It's a kill. There's a mass kill going on. They're fighting raccoons or something like that. Whatever it might be. And I look and I'm like, there's this, I think to myself, you got to remember, I'm walking up to a crest of the hill, so my line of vision is being obscured, and as I'm walking closer to the top of the hill, I'm seeing more of the bottom of the lower part of this pasture. And standing there is what I say to myself, why is there a man, this is the first thing I think, why is there a man in a snow-blowing jumpsuit wearing a balaclava standing there at the edge of the field line, at the edge of the forest? And then I'm like, and it's hot. It's July. It's July the 7th, I think it was.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the coyotes go quiet. This thing, I say it's a thing, crouches down, and because the bramble and there's wild raspberry, dogwood, small cedars, a whole multitude of different things blocking it now as it's crouched down. And all at once, it comes bounding out on four legs